Oh, today is Youth Day. Of course, we'll continue our focus on how the youth of this generation are feeling compared to 1976, when young people faced a policy that made them unequal and kept them in poverty. What has really changed? Now, they did win that battle back then. It took a long time, but today inequality and poverty persist. So what has really changed? Dasen Thathiah, senior reporter down in Durban for us, because that's what the youth are going to be asking today. The riots of 1976 was meant to change the outlook for youngsters in our country, but some will argue it's not really much different, is it?
That's it, Gareth, and as we were saying earlier, the challenges today are a little bit different, and there have been other things that have compounded the challenges that are already experienced by the youth here. You'll remember from our conversation earlier with Lungile Maluleka, the attorney, she was saying to us that she's worried about unemployment. She's talking about government strengthening the education system, for example. So lots of changes that need to be done. So these are some of the conversations we're having. But one must also bear in mind that there are different communities, different age groups, different races, all of them experiencing their own versions of what types of challenges exist within those communities. So we're trying to get a broad range of views. I want to bring in now a civil engineering student, Dylan. Dylan, thanks for joining me. I think let's start here with for you personally. What have you found to be some of the difficulties that you've experienced as a young person in South Africa in this time?
You know, going to school and everything, we had like a set schedule, go to school, study, but now we had to overcome the transition from going to online learning, which is a lot different. Even though you have like more freedom, but it causes you to procrastinate. Another thing is the unemployment rate. You follow the agenda of life, you go to school, get your degree, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get a job.
Are you finding yourself, being anxious as someone that's 18 years old, you're in your first year of study, and are you anxious about what awaits you when you're done?
Yes, there's a lot of pressure on me because in, say, 20 years, my parents are going to be relying on me, and it is up to me to, do well and make them proud.
What can be done, or what are your suggested solutions? If you had to speak directly to government, what would you say could be done to create an environment for the youth that's better than the one you have right now?
Well, I could say that they could focus more on learners. They should tell teachers to not only teach, but also get to their human side and also connect with the learners, because a lot of learners come from broken homes. They go through their own issues. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And it's up to them to make a safe learning environment for the learners.
When you made a decision to study civil engineering, did you look at what the job market was going to be like on the other side of that?
Honestly, I looked at the pay, because nowadays, this world, we need money more than anything. I did take into consideration the job opportunities. And as an entry-level engineer, it is very hard to find a job. You may have to move overseas, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Thank you very much for your time, Dylan. Gareth, these are some of the concerns that are being shared by other young people across the city and across the country. And you hear it comes down to that one thing, doesn't it? The issue of jobs. What happens after you study? If you're fortunate enough to get into a tertiary institution, what happens next? Where do you go? Is it worth staying here? Is there an environment here that's going to allow you to prosper?
And there's the issue, isn't it? When we start hearing youngsters, and I think you and I need to say the word youngsters respectfully, because when you and I were coming through matric going into university, we weren't thinking about having to go overseas to get a job, because we didn't have opportunities here. It was a case of if we wanted to, and we were lucky enough to, we could. To hear the youth saying they feel like they're going to have to go overseas simply to get a job, that's a problem, because then we have to talk about the brain drain as well in our country, and it's so the circle keeps going around. Fascinating, Dasen Thathiah. Thank you so very much. We'll come back to you again a little bit later as to what the views are of just a few youngsters down in KZN with the eNCA reporter Dasen Thathiah.